Metacritic has been dropping splash pages revealing things that we've been anticipating, so announcements are likely coming soon, like with Resident Evil 9. And then they also dropped a splash page for the next upcoming mainline Tomb Raider game. Not the remasters in this case, this is for the next upcoming game. I'm going to show you guys what they have shared, and then we'll speculate and all that kind of stuff. So they did share these screenshots. Well, I don't think that one was part of the splash page, but it's called Tomb Raider Project right now, tentatively. So we see PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, developer is Crystal Dynamics, and the publisher Amazon Game Studios again. So we know this isn't about the remasters because Amazon Game Studios has no affiliation with the remasters, just with the next mainline game. And Crystal Dynamics being the developer, they are not developing the remasters. So, so far what we have is genres. Linear action adventure. So Rhino here has also shared all of this. This is what we know. We're expecting based off of what everything they've told us so far, and also as well as the leaks and what we've seen with the Amazon or with the Netflix animation is they're attempting to do a unified project. Granted, is it even unified? No. For those who have seen anything about the Netflix abomination, there was nothing unified about that. And to me, you can't even unify the 3 different eras of Tomb Raider. So you've got like the classic era of Tomb Raider, which were the core design games. You've got the Legend era of when Crystal Dynamics first got the franchise. That changed a lot of things, but aesthetically it looked similar. So aesthetically speaking, yeah, you could unify that. But the Lara Croft's backstory and everything involving lore is so different. You can't really unify that. I mean, yeah, you can make an attempt, but I just don't really see that going well. And then you've got the reboot stuff, which is even more drastically different. And so, yeah, you're trying to unify all these things. It's simply not going to happen. When you look at what happened with the Netflix abomination that they call Tomb Raider, it was basically they took elements from the first rebooted games. This was supposed to take place after Shadow of the Tomb Raider. So even a lot of reboot fans weren't very happy because they were stuck on plot points that she was already over. So for example, she kept mourning Conrad Roth, in this anime, but by the time Shadow came around, she was already well past that. So you got stuff like that were inconsistent. You've got inconsistencies in general with, I mean, even in the reboot trilogy, they're inconsistent with each other in multiple ways. Story-wise, they were not consistent. So, yeah, basically what it is it's the first reboot Lara Croft, and they give her dual pistols at some point, and they expect you to think that that means she's unified now, which obviously is ridiculous because classic Lara Croft was so much more than her dual pistols, right? So what I expect with what we see here, and I even left a comment on here, because with them saying, okay, it's a linear action adventure game, I think we're going to see more or less what we've already seen in terms of gameplay and the general mechanics that we've already seen from the reboot games. So I said, sounds like we'll get another set piece simulator with a dramatic story that contradicts Lara Croft's history on all timelines. Who would have guessed? Surprise, surprise. I mean, this has been a long time in the making. The last mainline Tomb Raider game that we got was Shadow and the Tomb Raider that released in 2018. So this is definitely a huge gap for the series right now. But again, I expect from what we've seen and what this sounds like, it's going to be much of the same formula. Now, a lot of people still like the rebooted Tomb Raider games, and you know, they're fun. I'm not going to say they're not good games, but they're not Tomb Raider games. Now, if you've played the classics, or even if you've not played the classics and just tried with the remasters of the first 3 games, then you'll see, oh, and I've gotten so many comments from people saying, oh, so that's why you're saying that the rebooted games aren't Tomb Raider games. That's why, because they're not. They're entirely different in formula, in gameplay, in Lara Croft and her backstory, in their approach to the general story and all of that. So when you're looking at actual classic Tomb Raider, you're looking at an adventure. That is the most critical element of a Tomb Raider game is, hey, this is an adventure that Lara Croft is going to embark on. Now, Lara Croft's motivations were centered around her thrill of adventure. She played for sport, as she says in the very first game, right? That is her motivations, not family drama, not any of that. She's not following in her father's footsteps, because in the classic Tomb Raider games, her dad and her mom disowned her because she chose this life of adventure. So she just has like this very reckless, chaotic obsession with a life for adventure. So that leaves Lara Croft's personal life not being a part of the actual games, especially in the classic games, because her personal life is adventure, right? So you don't have all of this over dramatic story and Lara Croft crying and getting all emotional and all this stuff, because that wasn't a factor at all, because she just had this chaotic obsession with adventure, and that's what she lived for, and that was her life. So it wasn't about, oh, I gotta rescue my friends, oh my gosh, BFF friend adventure. Like, Lara Croft was a solo adventurer who preferred to work alone. And again, she was obsessed with a life of adventure and the adrenaline rush and life and death situations and all that kind of stuff. But now when you go from the classic games, which are very centered around adventure, exploration, locating keys, locating switches, having to do even backtracking because you're like, oh, wait, I found this. Now I know I have to go here to do this and I have to do that. And it's all like very formulaic. You've got to figure things out and actually use your brain. So you've got that, you've got just general puzzles to figure out, you've got acrobatics and traversal, and the platforming were puzzles in themselves, because you would see how different slopes and how different things that you need to navigate to, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, so I need to do a running jump for this, and then after I slide on that, I need to do a backflip twist and grab onto the ledge of that, and then I need to do this. So it's just all very calculated in gameplay. So you go from that to these reboot games, which are more cover shooters. It's just Uncharted essentially in terms of gameplay, which is completely different. It's unrecognizable. And a lot of what the reboot games focus on are set pieces. Okay, now here's your little sequence where you got to escape because the tomb is collapsing. Now here's your little sequence where this is happening or that is happening. A ton of set pieces that are extremely scripted that you have to run through. And a lot of the focus of the game being on these big dramatic cutscenes that focus on Lara Croft and her personal struggles and her emotions. So it is drastically different. And so when we see here, linear action adventure game, I'm expecting much of the same thing. We're going to get a bunch of set pieces that are very scripted. We're going to get a bunch of emphasis on the cutscenes, Lara Croft being emotional, Lara Croft crying, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I don't have much hope in this next mainline game, but what I do have hope in is the upcoming remasters brought to us by Saber Interactive as the developers and Aspyr as the publishers, because they actually had hired real fans of Tomb Raider who are going to deliver very faithful, accurate, beautiful Tomb Raider games remasters, just like they did with the first 3 remasters. So at least we have those to look forward to. It's my hope that this next abomination that will happen will flop, and that Crystal Dynamics will no longer be a part of the mainline franchise, and that Embracer will hand the series over to, hopefully Saber and Aspyr again, but I don't know. There's a lot of mix-up going on with what Saber's doing. They've separated themselves. I don't even know, but they're still working on the next remasters. I know that. All I know is I want this super team of Tomb Raider fans to work on whatever is happening next after this Amazon thing drops and flops, because it will. Anyway, there you have it for this video. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. And if you'd like me to read the Bible to you, you can check out my Bible channel, Bible Time with Melanie Mack, where I upload every single day. Thank you all again. I'll catch you next time. And in the meantime, go boom.